This is macOS Ken.
Apple proposes a settlement with smaller developers, news around iPhone and Apple Watch, and Tim Cook is really rich this time. It is Friday, the 27th of August, 2021. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from macOS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by Upstart. Fair and fast personal loans. Learn more and check your rate at upstart.com/macOSCan. This show is also sponsored by Headspace, meditation made simple. Have I told you lately how Headspace works? It's an app, an ever-growing app with new guides and courses being offered all the time, and new types of content like music to help you focus or programs to help you sleep. You can start a dedicated series of exercises or search for just the exercise you need. So that's how it works. As for how it's working, seriously, just this week, I've stopped reading and listening to podcasts while I eat. Went for a walk the other night and realized I was neither present for my walk nor was I actually taking in the podcast I was theoretically listening to. So I took out my AirPods and just felt the walk, heard the world around me. And that felt better. So that's how it's working for me. You deserve to feel happier, and Headspace is meditation made simple. Go to headspace.com/macOSCan. That's headspace.com/macOSCan for a free 1-month trial with access to Headspace's full library of meditations for every situation. This is the best deal offered right now. Head to headspace.com/macOSCan today. News today of a kinder, gentler App Store. Late in the day on Thursday, Apple issued a press release announcing changes that it hopes will settle a class action lawsuit brought by smaller developers in the U.S. According to the release, the agreement clarifies that developers can share purchase options with users outside of their iOS app, expands the price points developers can offer for subscriptions, in-app purchases, and paid apps, and establishes a new fund to assist qualifying U.S. developers. Going a bit more in depth, points enumerated include keeping the current revenue split of 15% to Apple, 85% to developers making under $1 million a year. The split stays 30-70 for developers making over that amount, with those terms set for the next 3 years. Search in the App Store will continue to be based on objective characteristics like downloads, star ratings, text relevance, and user behavior signals. That's at the request of developers, according to Apple, and that is also for the next 3 years. To give developers even more flexibility to reach their customers, says Apple, the company agrees that developers can use communications such as email to share information about payment methods outside of their iOS app. Customers have to agree to be reached by developers and must be able to opt out of such communication afterwards. If customers go for a payment process outside of the App Store, Apple takes no commission. Apple will also expand the number of price points available to developers for subscriptions, in-app purchases, and paid apps, while developers will continue to set their own prices. Apple will maintain the option for developers to appeal the rejection of an app based on perceived unfair treatment, though it will add content to the app review website to help developers understand how the appeals process works. The company has promised developers an annual transparency report that will include the number of apps rejected for different reasons, the number of customer and developer accounts deactivated, objective data regarding search queries and results, and the number of apps removed from the App Store. And Apple will set up a fund to help small developers in the U.S. That'll be for developers who have made less than $1 million a year through the App Store for all of their apps combined from the beginning of June 2015 through the end of April of this year. That'll encompass 99% of developers in the US, according to the company, with details on that program available at a later date. The settlement still needs to be approved by the court, according to the company. The press release also touched on a program for news publishers, word of which made it out earlier in the day. Engadget ran a piece on that, seeing it as a way to attract news orgs who were initially turned off by Apple News Plus. Engadget says Apple's News Partner Program lowers Apple's cut of App Store subscriptions from 30% to 15% from day one if qualified publishers provide their content in the Apple News format. Like other Apple subscriptions, publishers used to have to wait for a subscription to move past the 1-year mark before rates dropped to 15%. Apple covered the program more in depth in a separate press release. In addition to eligibility and requirements, that release also had Apple recommitting to its support of 3 news-focused nonprofits: Common Sense Media, the News Literacy Project, and Osservatorio Permanente Giovanni Editori. Apple says those organizations offer nonpartisan independent media literacy programs. Additionally, the release says the News Partner Program will also support, fund, and collaborate with additional leading organizations globally that educate news consumers on media literacy and further efforts to diversify news coverage and newsrooms. The company promises more details on that in the future as well. Moving on to hardware now, components may not be the only problem in the supply chain. Mac Rumors says Foxconn is scrambling to find enough people to put the parts together for the next round of iPhones. Citing a report from the South China Morning Post, the piece says the contract manufacturer is looking for 200,000 more workers to work on iPhone 13 ahead of its launch, which is expected next month. The report quotes a Foxconn exec who told a local broadcaster that hiring enough people has been the biggest bottleneck for production at Foxconn's manufacturing facility in Zhengzhou, sometimes referred to as iPhone City. While that may mean a slow start, Mac Rumors says at the current hiring rate, Foxconn expects to have the additional 200,000 workers it needs by the end of next month. Apple Watch has crossed a pretty big threshold, at least if numbers from Counterpoint research are to be believed. Apple Insider has the market tracker saying that the active user base for Cupertino's chronometer has crossed 100 million. Counterpoint analyst Soo-Jung Lim is quoted in the piece saying Apple's ecosystem is seeing a greater attach rate as the brand continues to bake in attractive designs, health features, and related services around it. Apple Watch's user base crossed the 100 million mark for the first time during the quarter ended June, capturing the lion's share of the smartwatch user base globally. And now, courtesy of Counterpoint, the other shoe. Apple Insider has the firm pointing out that other smartwatch brands are growing rapidly. For the June quarter, Samsung saw smartwatch shipments grow 43% year over year, while Garmin saw its shipments grow 62%. Sure, that may leave Apple with a smaller piece of the pie, but the whole pie is getting bigger. Year over year, smartwatch sales across the board were up 27% in the June quarter. While that shifted Apple's share of the space from 30% to 28%, that still means more growth in sheer numbers. Speaking of Apple Watch, time for an update for you public beta testers. One day after the developer release of beta number 7 of watchOS 8, iMore says it's now out to the public testing crowd. If you're part of that, you know what to do. If you are not in with that in crowd but want to be, you can find out more at beta.apple.com. Apple's out with another one of its mystery updates. Mac Rumors says the Cupertino company has refreshed the firmware for AirTag. The refreshed firmware has a version number of 1.0.291 according to the piece, with a build number of 1A291 lowercase a, up from 1A287 lowercase b. No word on what has changed, if anything. Could just be a stability performance thing. You can see whether yours has been updated through the Find My app, though if it hasn't been, there is nothing you can do about it. Mac Rumor says there's no way to force an AirTag update, as it's something that's done over the air through a connected iPhone. To make sure the update happens, you can put your AirTag in range of your iPhone, but you have to wait for the firmware to roll out to your device. More news in a moment, but first a word from Upstart. Fair and fast personal loans. Paying off debt can seem like an uphill battle. High interest rates plus minimum monthly payments keep people in an endless cycle of debt. Upstart can help break that cycle. Whether it's paying off credit cards, consolidating high interest debt, or funding personal expenses, over 500,000 people have used Upstart to get a simple, fixed monthly payment. Upstart looks at more than just your credit score, factoring in income and employment history. That lets them offer smarter rates with trusted partners. With a 5-minute online rate check, you can see your rate up front for loans between $1,000 to $50,000, and you can receive funds as fast as 1 business day after accepting your loan. Find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to upstart.com/macOSken. UPSTART, that's upstart.com/macOSken. Don't forget to use my URL to let them know I sent you. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. Go to upstart.com/macOSken. Here now, a really depressing headline from Apple Insider. Almost nobody in the US used the Apple and Google COVID-19 apps. Quoting the report, research shows that 2.14% of possible COVID-19 cases were recorded in exposure notification apps across 26 states, leading to questions about how well the system worked. Of the 26 states that adopted Apple and Google's COVID-19 exposure notification system, the piece continues, only 17 provided partial data for research. Even the highest install base, Maryland, saw only 40% of residents install the apps and 9.7% of COVID-19 cases logged. Apple Insider puzzles through why the numbers are what they are, though it seems to me you could just slap a sticker on this story with the words, "From the country that brought you, I'm tired of wearing a mask and I don't want your stupid vaccine." See, it could have worked, or could have worked better anyway. When viewed as a whole, says the piece, the data for 17 states show approximately 24.8% of residents installed an exposure notification app, with only 2.14% of COVID-19 cases logged afterwards. These numbers are in direct contrast to the UK, where more than 40% of weekly cases are logged in the local exposure notification system. There are conflicting ideas on why the number of US cases tracked by the apps is so small. On the negative, Apple Insider says one theory suggests that misinformation and fear surrounding the virus have led to a mistrust of the technology. The theory that I would like to believe says that those who download exposure notification apps are more likely to take other precautions like social distancing or mask wearing. This led to app adopters not getting COVID-19, thus having nothing to log. That is the one I would like to believe. Just for fun, I might try to do so. Apple TV Plus has released a trailer for the musical Come From Away. It takes place in Newfoundland. And if you don't believe me, just say Newfoundland once. According to a piece from iMore, Come From Away tells the story of 7,000 people stranded in the small town of Gander, Newfoundland, after all flights to the U.S. are grounded on September 11th, 2001. As the people of Newfoundland graciously welcome the Come From Aways into their community in the aftermath, the passengers and locals alike process what's happened while finding love, laughter, and new hope in the unlikely and lasting bonds that they forge. Recorded earlier this year, the performance features a lot of the Tony Award winners' original creatives and performers. It looks uplifting, though I'm not ashamed to say the trailer made me a bit teary. Come From Away premieres on Apple TV Plus on Friday, the 10th of September. You can catch the trailer now on YouTube. Newfoundland. And finally today, Apple CEO Tim Cook is still rich. Richer this week than last week by a good deal. Cook became Apple CEO 10 years ago this week. That position came with a number of stock grants, the last of which was paid out this week. That was 5,040,000 shares, according to an Apple Insider report, worth more than $750 million. And that worth has been realized. According to the piece, Cook on Tuesday sold all shares in multiple transactions, collectively worth $751.6 million, according to a U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission filing. The executive came away with $354.6 million after Apple withheld $397 million to satisfy tax requirements. Even that he didn't keep all to himself. SEC filings show that Cook this week donated close to $10 million worth of shares to an unnamed charity. As for the award, some of the shares he received were performance-based, though I guess you could argue that they were all performance-based. If he was a lousy CEO, he wouldn't be there. That said, quite a bit has happened over his first 10 years at the helm. A piece from Bloomberg goes over some of the highs and lows. Now, let's start with the lows and then work our way up. According to the piece, his tenure has faced hiccups, such as a failed launch of Apple's own Maps app in 2012, which was largely rectified, criticism over the company's tax payments and tax deal with Ireland, and a public spat with the U.S. over smartphone encryption. But it's the laughter we'll remember. Well, that and Apple's significant expansion into online services, major acquisitions like Beats and Intel's cellular modem unit, a push into custom chips and technologies, wearables like AirPods and the Apple Watch, and major expansions to the iPhone and iPad lines. Hey, they left out the misstep that was John Browett, and the stroke of genius that was Angela Ahrendts. Also, they left out Cook getting his picture taken with me. You needn't worry, though. I will never let you forget that. Coming up in a few minutes, ask a musician to throw a dinner party, and there is a decent chance musicians will get invitations. We're wrapping the week with Mac Geek Gab co-host Dave Hamilton's dinner party in a few minutes. Find that and listen at macosken.com or wherever you get podcasts. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and sponsored by Headspace. Meditation made simple. Get a free 1-month trial at headspace.com/macosken. This show is also sponsored by Upstart. Fair and fast personal loans. Learn more and check your rate at upstart.com/macosken. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. info@macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.